What's going on, everybody? Firing shots across the bow. It is Wednesday night, Sweet 16 Eve, and this is Gunspicks coming at you live from Maryland. Yes, I am back from a great trip in Turning Stone, New York. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Wednesday night, and I have some great guests. I want to make sure I give them the proper introduction, and we're going to start this off with Chris Thurston at CT Bets 16 on Twitter. You know him as a co-host of the Hustle podcast on Wager Talk TV, contributor for Sports Map Radio, Diehards Radio. Watch party coming up. You got to go check that out. And text AZ Hoboken this Friday at 5 p.m. It's an absolute electric time. They know how to throw a party. And also joining us on the show, Bryan Power for the first time on DadBodds. He's a sports handicapper at Wager Talk and contributor for the happy hour tip-off. What's going on, guys? How you doing this Wednesday?
Guns, I'm doing well. It's a little weird to not be in person with you guys. You know, I'm used to having BP to my left, you to my right, grinding the games. But here we are doing a pod together, and it was great banging the games around with you guys. We had a great weekend and ready to talk some Sweet 16 with you guys.
Yeah, and Bryan, welcome. First time on DadBodds. You're getting your cherry broken. And I know we had a wonderful weekend. We became close brothers after this weekend. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. And yeah, like Chris said, it's crazy that we're not just jumping all over each other, going crazy. I feel just very subdued. You know, it's the evening. It's quiet in my house. But yeah, I feel, you know, it probably won't even be the same 24 hours from now. As a matter of fact, I know it won't be the same 24 hours from now when I'm watching these games, yelling at the TV by myself, and my wife is cursing at me, telling me to be quiet. But yeah, man, it was a great weekend. It's great to see you guys again so soon, and excited to talk these games. It's going to be a good weekend, Sweet 16 and Elite 8 action when we get there.
I do want to talk about the fun that happened this weekend before we actually get into talking the Sweet 16 stuff. I know there's a great video that Wager Talk put out. Thanks for sending that to me, Chris. If Pun could pull that up to just give people a little bit of a taste of what happened this weekend, and we can go in a little bit of story time. There we go.
In the book here, Dwayne and I had breakfast this morning. I told him Tennessee defense is going to be way too much for those Duke freshmen. He agreed. Trick gives it out 4%. My 10th BP, let's go. 3%. Hey, it's still a winner. What do you want? He got the outright winner. I told BP, Besky, I gave him the green light, Lexi. Shoot the 3-ball whenever he wants. Let's go. You're not talking. I won. Bryan Power, East Coast Meet and Greet, WagerTalk.com. We've been cashing tickets all weekend. Hoping to cash another one right now. If you're not here, you're missing out. Hope to see you. It's that simple. You come, you win. I won. I had no business winning that game. No, don't record that. A great play, another winner at the Wager Talk East Coast Meet and Greet. Arkansas, he knows. Bang! What he said.
Hey, Bryan here from WagerTalk.com. Over here doing the Wager Talk East Coast Meet and Greet. Having a great time, meeting a lot of people, making a lot of new friends.
Yes, my name's Aaron from Virginia. I got connected to Wager Talk through mutual friends on Twitter, and I couldn't say a better group of guys. Bryan Power, Adam Trigger, you know, everybody in Wager Talk. Great group of guys, great group of people, and you know, they help us get cash winners. What else could you ask for? Great friends with great winners, right?
Yeah, hey, I'm Rich from Albany. I came out with these guys. Adam and something out there having a Wager Talk thing. Came out, and great 3 days hanging out with them. Unbelievable group that these guys got together.
We're going to win some bets for you, so follow us along. Let's go.
Building, what's going on, buddy?
EPO is to my left.
Uh,
There it was.
that was perfect in a
Amazing.
nutshell. And that's the reason why my voice cannot come back from that. Oh my God. Wanted to talk about some of the hits that we had on this one. And I know Bryan was on it with me. I can't remember if CT was, but my favorite bet of the weekend was the Houston bet. And they were down 10, and I can't remember who said let's look at the live line. And we heard the live line, and all of us ran to the window and pounded it so much that they cut it off the book. I don't know if I want to say it was Bryan, but does anybody remember that one?
No, it was not my idea, but I remember somebody just said, "Hey, let's just bet them live." And I said, "That's a great idea." And the look on their face, because we've been doing so good all day, not to toot our own horn, but toot. We run up there and they just, the look of defeat behind the counter was pretty incredible. They're like, dude, Houston's coming back and winning this game for sure if these 5 guys just ran up and bet it. But that was a good one. But I don't know. CT had the biggest winner and the best idea of the weekend when he decided we should all bet Fairleigh Dickinson second half money line. I thought that was a questionable wager when he said it, but I'm really glad I listened to everybody else that did it because, man, that it made for good social media retweeting that.
Yeah, that one was nice. It was halftime, and I went over to the boys and Guns. Unfortunately, that was the day you weren't.
I went upstairs for like an hour. That's it.
You were regrouping, right? Getting ready. And I said to Aaron Kidd, Adam Trigger, and BP, I said, let's go. Throw me $100 right now. We're banging Fairleigh Dickinson plus 950 on the money line second half. And I got to give everybody credit. They didn't hesitate. They threw it right at me. I went up there. We threw it in. And we went upstairs to the steakhouse. And it was a close game when we first got up there. And then all of a sudden, Purdue goes up like 5 or 6. I'm like, man, is this where they kind of run away with it here and, get blown out? Went to the bathroom, came back. And wow, Fairleigh Dickinson was tied with him again. And we grinded it out the last 8 minutes. It was a total grind and it came out to everything that I kind of thought would happen. I thought it was a tough matchup for Dickinson and kind of thought that the freshman guards for Purdue would be freshman guards. And they did a good job doubling Edey. He couldn't get loose and score in the last 8 minutes. And we cashed that ticket. That's the video that you saw the last the one there. This is it, celebrating in the steakhouse after they win.
Oh, Aaron's going nuts. I think I had so many bruises from him just like pounding me. God bless that steakhouse staff, man. They just tried.
Still wish I knew what I would have said to you, CT, in that moment, by the way. It felt just so introspective that we had hit that bet. Yeah, I don't know.
I know. I was wondering what we were talking about, too, but nothing else matters because we cashed that ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adam brought up a good point. And that was a big hit for me, too, is I took Arkansas spread, money line halves, and I was just hammering that one. And that was the video of me doing the bang with my phone. I was like, that one was a big one. I mean, that whole day, that whole like Saturday, was just it was epic. It was just everything was just smacking.
Yeah.
I think it started Friday night. And then there's a video right there.
Throw it over there! It's over! Yeah! Boys, let's go!
Electric, man. Electric.
So I've given out. I was gonna say I've given out bigger plays than Arkansas in my time at Wager Talk, but I don't think I'd ever been more nervous for one to win because we were on such a run.
Yeah.
And I feel that everyone sort of took Arkansas based on like the fact that I liked Arkansas, and no one wanted to be the first one to be wrong that day. So the fact that they won, that's why I was quite excited. And
I agree, Bryan. I'm going to give you more props because you talked me to that one, and I leaned Arkansas, but I was nervous to get to the window there, and you kind of pushed me forward on that one. So props to you, man. Saturday was great, guys. It's just all coming back to me now.
The best part is going up to that book at the end of the night, and then I took a stack of tickets. And I only pulled out one that was a loser, and that was Penn State money line. then I put up the window and they started cashing them. And then I think the manager, one of the managers, came up to me and he just goes, "Are you done?" And I
Oh yeah,
go,
they were
I go,
kind of
"I
sick
think
of us.
so." I go,
They were.
"Yeah, I think we're done." Oh, such a good time, and what a good promo for what you're going to be doing. Tell the people, CT, what you got planned for. Is it Friday that you got a watch party? Correct?
Yeah, this Friday, if you're in the New Jersey, New York area, the sponsor of your show, DadBodds, Viva Seltzer, the sponsor, one of the sponsors of Wager Talk and the Hustle, throwing a Sweet 16 watch party at Texas, Arizona bar in Hoboken, New Jersey. Kelly Stewart, Kelly in Vegas, Ariel Epstein, the prop queen, Adam Trigger, and myself will be in the house. Come down, watch the games with us. We'll buy you some Vivas. We'll have a good time. We'll try and cash as much as we did this past weekend. And if anything, come slam some Vivas with us and grind out the Sweet 16 games. It will be a really good time.
Hell yeah, man. Love it. Love it. I what a great transition to the 16. I want to make sure I shout out the Tad. 29 in the chat, always hanging out with us on the Sports Wagering Network. K Slater 23. Razor the horse sharp himself. Love Razor. And everybody else has been watching us live. Make sure you get into the chat. Tell the plays that you like, what plays you hit this weekend. We'd love to hear from you. And what a transition. Before we get to the Sweet 16, make sure give us a proper ad read. Not even an ad read. We're going to give you a damn commercial of Viva Tequila Seltzers.
365 days of hard work. And it all comes down... Guys, we've waited a year for this, and you're already drinking?
Bryan, this is a charity scramble. We're here for the Vivas.
Viva Tequila Seltzer. Only 88 calories. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and gluten-free. Ditch the malt. Add tequila.
Good job, boys. One for you, one for you.
Beautiful commercial as I'm taking a sip of the Huckleberry, one of my favorites there. And wow, I guess that goes right. Let's transition right into college basketball talk, shall we, Pun? Slate of games starting here on Thursday. We'll go right down the line. If we have a play, let's talk about it. If we don't, let's move on. But I think we all have an opinion on the first game on the board. It's Michigan versus Kansas. Michigan State versus Kansas State, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at MSG, New York, New York. And I'm going to start this off with the guy below me on the screen right now, CT Bets. What's your opinion on this opening Sweet 16 matchup?
Yeah, Guns. So, yeah, this is the first one to go for the Sweet 16, right? So, this past Sunday was a play for me, Kansas State, and I feel as though the number 3 seed Kansas State Wildcats, they were disrespected, right? They were a 3-point underdog to Kentucky, and what do we see, right? Marquise Noel, he comes out, leads the way, puts this Kansas State team on his back. The defense, number 19, defensive efficiency by Ken Pom, played unbelievable. Some books open this lineup here as Kansas State as the favorite. Others had them at a pick, right? Early money, they've pushed it up. Michigan State to the favorite. Currently sits -1.5, -2 on the Wager Talk odds screen. Depends on where you're shopping here. Our good friend Kelly Stewart, Kelly in Vegas, who's a Kansas State alumni, pointed this stat out to me yesterday, and I think it's worth noting here. So since 2005, the 4 teams in the Sweet 16 or later who opened as favorites and closed as dogs are 3-1 straight up, guys. And that's what this scenario is here on Thursday night. K-State opens as the favorite, probably going to close as a dog here. So I think Keontae Johnson is going to be a key factor in this game. He made that key 3 towards the end of the game with the last 2 minutes, but he really wasn't himself, really wasn't the Keontae Johnson that we saw all year long. He only had 13 points. He was 5 for 14 from the floor and 1 for 4 from deep, which was that one, which was a key 3 that he made there at the end. That was the only one he made. He's usually a lot better than that. And I think he's able to take over this game here. He's got length here. I think this is kind of a bad matchup for Michigan State. Sparty does shoot the three well. They shoot it at a 39.5% clip. It does scare me that versus Marquette, they did not shoot the three ball well and still grinded that game out here. But K-State, they have a great defense. They could also defend the three as well. Look, I know you guys watched that game, right? Kentucky got every single call. Oscar Tshiebwe plays out of his mind, takes over, owns them, Kansas State, on the boards, and Kansas State still finds a way to win that game, right? We talk about guards win games in March, right? Marquise Noel, and Sills are better guards to me than Walker and Hoggard. This is Big 12 basketball here. I get that Tom Izzo, he gets his teams to peak in March. He's done a great job. No one would have thought that this team would be in the Sweet 16, including myself. I had a ticket on Marquette to go to the Sweet 16. So I tip my cap to Tom Izzo and Sparty here. But, man, I think the Wildcats are going to really take control of the ball this game. When they turn the ball over 15 or less times, they win this game. Jerome Tanton, he's done an unbelievable job with this Wildcats team. This team was predicted to finish last in the Big 12 and not win a single game in the Big 12. So I like Kansas State. I'm going to take the points here. I played on the Wildcats +2 for Thursday night in the Sweet 16.
Great stuff. Great breakdown. And we're going to pass it over to Bryan Power. You can find him on Twitter at Bryan. You can also find all his plays on wagertalk.com. He's not only betting basketball, he's betting soccer, and he was giving us early kicks during the Turning Stone trip. But what's your opinion on this game, Bryan?
Well, this is a little awkward, isn't it?
It's got to be.
Yeah, I think that Michigan State ought to feel ecstatic that they were able to beat Marquette by 9 points last weekend. Chris hit on this a little bit, and let me go into it further. First off, Marquette had only previously lost one game all season by more than 5 points. That was to UConn. And Michigan State beat them by 9 despite shooting 2 of 17 from 3. Not only that, Marquette was 11 of 27 from 3. So they were like minus 27 from behind the arc in the game. And they still beat a Marquette team that I believe is better than Kansas State. So is it reasonable to assume Michigan State is going to have a bounce back night from 3? I think it is. They've actually been below their season average. They are now they dropped from number 3 in the country to, I believe, number 6 in the country from 3-point land after that woeful effort against Marquette from deep. They've been below their season percentage 3 games in a row. Now, the 3 games before that, they were out of their mind. I think there was one game they hit over 60% from 3. So there was some regression forthcoming. We've seen it. I think they bounced back from 3. CT hit on Noel. I did watch the Kentucky game, and I got to say, Kentucky, they had an 8-point lead in the second half. I thought Kansas State was on the verge of of being done. But Noel hits a couple moon shots that saved their season. Kentucky was ice cold from 3. I believe it was 4 from 20 in that game. And so it does boil down to, does Michigan State bounce back from 3? But there's something else to consider in this game. Kansas State in 2 tournament games, 49 of 73, 67% from 2-point range inside the arc. When I broke down that Michigan State Marquette game, I double and triple checked this because I cannot believe it. Michigan State held Marquette to 9 made 2-point field goals in that game. So I think it boils down to not only Michigan State hitting their threes, but can they defend on I don't think they're going to be able to defend on the interior like they did against Marquette. But if they do those 2 things, I think Tom Izzo moves to another Elite 8. I do like Michigan State on the money line here. I am hopeful maybe they win by just 1, and then both he and I can both cash.
Yes.
Jump all over each other.
Bryan firing shots here across the bow. And normally I do agree with CT. I do, but not on this one. I am on Michigan State as well, and I'm going to take them on the spread because I am as bold as shit. I know where they came from. I don't think what Kansas State did was impressive. Kentucky was the favorite as a 6 seed. I felt like watching that game, they were in control of the game, probably 85-90% of the game, and then they just kind of fell apart at the end. But you got a team, Michigan State statistically, I just feel is a lot better. 38th in offensive efficiency, they're 31st in defensive efficiency, a little bit more balanced on that side. I know Kansas State is a little bit better on the defensive side, 17th in defensive efficiency, but they're not a good defensive rebounding team. So I think there's an advantage there that we can get on the boards here for the Spartans. They're Kansas State ranked 241st in defensive rebounds in the game. And then usually when you're talking about teams going further in the tournament, the coaches come up to it over the players. So you have Jerome Tang, going in here not as experienced in these spots, whereas you have Tom Izzo that just knows how to coach up teams. There's a reason why Michigan State's favorite here is a 7 seed versus a 3 seed. And I'm going to go right to the well. I tried to do it against Kentucky and I got burnt. So let's see if we can do this again. Run it back. Give me Michigan State here as the underseeded favorite, -1.5 as my play in this game.
Bang, bang, bang.
As we move on
There
to
we
the
go.
next game on the slate. You don't think I come in here bringing heat, bringing gas, slapping bookies? That's all I do here, folks. Let's go to the next game on the slate. This game tips off at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. And it is Arkansas versus UConn. Tough matchup, especially with my future ticket at 24-1. I think there's a lot of people who have that future ticket, some smart people that I know. I'll start with you on this one, Bryan. Do you have any thoughts on this game, or is this a complete pass from you?
I'm still kind of struggling which way to go. As you alluded to, Guns, I thought UConn, when the tournament started, would come out of this region. I don't think the win against St. Mary's was as impressive as the final score showed, particularly in the second. I mean, they really dominated in the second half. Shot quality indicates there was a little bit of luck there. Early line move gave me some pause, too, -4 to -3.5. Now, we all, of course, sat there, as you saw in the video, and watched Arkansas beat Kansas. And I was surprised by the shot quality grade on that game because as we're all sitting there watching, CT, you and I turned to each other several times, and I was like, Arkansas ain't it. They're not going to pull this off. And they got really lucky, I thought, with Kansas going ice cold down the stretch. There was a 7-minute stretch in the second half where the Jayhawks made one field goal. One.
Yeah.
And that determined the game. Not sure if UConn's going to shoot 54% here, though, like they did against St. Mary's. Arkansas, while their own shooting can be called into question, Arkansas is a tremendous defensive team. I have questions about Nick Smith Jr., though. Why did he only play 16 minutes? I thought maybe it was some foul trouble, but he didn't. He had 0 points. So what I think this game comes down to, and I have not made my decision yet, is Arkansas's ability to get to the rim. They are not going to be as successful doing that here as they were against Kansas because of UConn's size. But what about the free throw line, guys? Arkansas in 2 tournament games is 43 of 55 from the charity stripe. This is a team that only averages 69% for the year. So they're making their free throws at a higher rate than normal. That would be my concern if I was an Arkansas backer. You're not going to get to the rim to the degree you have so far. And even if you get fouled, is there going to be some regression from the charity stripe here? I do think UConn is the better team. I expected them to win this region when the tournament started. So I'm still kind of mulling over this decision. I almost feel like UConn money line paired with something may be the way to go here.
That's a great point. I was just on Fade You podcast. We were talking, and I said the exact same thing. I said this is probably not a spread game. This is pairing another UConn with something else that's on the board. I'll pass it to you, CT. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
Well, I was hoping that BP was going to talk me into Arkansas because I can't get myself there. I kind of have a similar breakdown to Bryan, right? I mean, the Razorbacks, they got these 2 lottery picks, and Anthony Black and Nick Smith Jr., and everybody kind of thought that Smith Jr. was going to be the one that really stood out, and that's kind of been the opposite here. Smith Jr. really hasn't been impressive this year. The defense for the Razorbacks, they've been great, right? They're a top 20 team on that end. But the problem is that Ricky Council and Davis have carried the load offensively, which has been suspect quite a bit of the time this year. This team is capable of coming alive offensively. Hence the double-digit comeback versus Kansas last round here. I think this is what the game comes down to, right? With Dan Hurley's team having the advantage in shooting and post play, the Razorbacks are really going to have to be nearly perfect defensively in order to win this game. And they're going to have to score. And that could be a problem for them. If Nick Smith doesn't wake up eventually here, it's going to be too much for Council and Davis. I think UConn's going to win this game. I haven't got involved here yet. I'm not sure if I will, but this might be the Sweet 16 might be the must buses, where he ends his road again.
Where he doesn't take his shirt off and swing it like a helicopter in front of the crowd.
I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing that on tomorrow night.
Yeah, shout out to Razor. He says he's 10-0 on first glances, and I've seen his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. He likes Arkansas plus the points. And my personal opinion on this one, I think I'm on the same side as Bryan. I think you can compare UConn on the money line with something else on the board. Not a spread that I'm willing to play on this one, especially, Arkansas is probably the side on this one, but Arkansas coming off that big win versus Kansas, highest of highs. I think this UConn train is just going to keep steamrolling along. They just are so well balanced, 14th in defensive efficiency, 3rd in offensive efficiency. That they got length inside. They got the guard play to get you far. Unfortunately, when you look at these two teams on neutral sites, you have Arkansas 7-2 against the spread in neutral games, but you also have UConn on the other side 6-1 against the spread in neutral site games. So you got two hot teams that can play outside their home court. Nothing I want to get in front of. Don't know how this is going to end up on this one, especially from two teams kind of playing outside of their patterns on both sides of the ball. But let's go into this next game here. A game that I really want to talk about. A game that I like on this one. And people can debate me on this on Twitter or debate me anywhere you want. FAU's going up against Tennessee. Now you saw what Tennessee did to Duke. Absolutely undressed them. It was a pick that we were screaming at the TVs at Turning Stone. It was the first game that came out, and it just started an epic run. This game kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. MSG, New York. And I'll start it with you on this one, CT. Do you have any thoughts in this game?
I mean, I haven't got to the window on a side here. But I'm going to say this, right? I think Florida Atlantic, the Owls, are going to have to make, in order to make this a competitive game, that they're going to need to hit some threes, right? Which they can do. But the problem is they're going to have to hit those in the face of elite perimeter defense, and that's with Tennessee. And we've kind of seen that all year. And Tennessee's going to make it very tough for them to do that. They allow opponents to shoot just 26.5% from deep, and that's the lowest mark in college hoops. So I think it's going to be a good game here. I don't have a side. I kind of missed the number here. I lean towards the under. It opened 130.5 down to 129.5. I still kind of like the under in this one. Sidewise, I'm not sure I'm going to get to the window. I do have a 40-1 ticket on the Vols to win it all. And I thought that was dead after Zagai Ziegler goes out for the year here. And now all of a sudden it's alive. So this might be one where I sit back, relax, and hope Tennessee makes it to the Elite Eight, and maybe I could start doing something with that ticket here. Oh, one other thing is, right, so we saw what Vescovi did versus Duke, right? He was able to get free versus those bigs. I do think that it's going to be a lot easier for him to free up and get loose versus this Florida Atlantic team. Not sure if he can knock down as many as he did versus Duke, but if he does get loose and get free, wide open, man, look out, because he could shoot the lights out.
He's got the Vols ticket. He's riding with the Vols, but he just needs them to win, not to cover. But I'll pass it over to Bryan. Do you have any thoughts on this game? What do you like?
Yeah, I'll just try to be brief here. I've seen some people citing some historical trends. We talked about historical trends in that Michigan State-Kansas State matchup at the top. And I've seen some people talking about some trends that favor FAU in this matchup. I believe, if I have this correctly, teams seeded 8 or lower in the Sweet 16 are on a 7-0 ATS run, 6 outright victories against non-top 3 seeds. So that would qualify here because Tennessee's a 4 seed. But guys, I thought Tennessee was underseeded coming into this tournament. I tweeted as soon as this bracket was released that if they were fully healthy, that I would just have run to the window to bet them to win this region. I thought it was the weakest 1 seed, the weakest 2 seed, the weakest 3 seed in this East region. Certainly, we all took advantage, like you guys both talked about in that Duke game. So, CT, I would feel pretty good about your Tennessee ticket right now. I really do think they could still come out of this region. But even though the number looks low, I'm not rushing to lay the points in this spot because what just happened over the weekend? Everyone was counting out Tennessee. They were an underdog to Duke. Everyone's having Duke advance. And then FAU is a massive favorite against Fairleigh Dickinson, and they let everyone down. You saw the way that number moved.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like to sort of, call it recency bias, call it what you will. I don't like to, when everyone was high on one team, low on the other team, and in both instances, everyone was wrong. I don't like to kind of, just go off just that one or those 2 results. So we talked about pairing UConn with something in the last breakdown. Maybe you pair UConn with Tennessee on Thursday. Florida Atlantic was just 9 of 31 from 3, by the way, in that last game. And CT, you pointed out Tennessee is number 1 in the country in 3-point defense. Florida Atlantic cannot win this game. They have 0 chance if they go 9 of 31 from deep once again.
Great breakdowns, guys. But I'm going to be taking FAU plus the 5.5 on this one, and it just has to do with the situation. Okay, you looked at FAU; they played absolutely flat versus FDU. That's what they did. Is like they came off of a game that was kind of the honeymoon phase for Memphis. They go and they win that game in epic proportion. They carried the highs of highs into that next game. There's a lot of trash talking. A lot of stuff was getting out there, and they kind of slept on FDU a little bit too much, in my opinion. But I don't think that happens twice, especially a team that was actually ranked more than once this season for FAU. But look where Tennessee's come from. They beat ULL. They had a humongous lead in that one. They let them come back in that game, and they only won by 3 as 11.5 point favorites. Then they go and they had their game that they needed that they hadn't had in probably 13 games versus Duke and just beat the absolute piss out of them, playing them on the arc, not letting them shoot threes, which Duke kind of wants to do. They punched Filipowski in the mouth, made him bleed, and he wasn't the same, and Roach couldn't carry that team at all. They basically did they took away Duke's strengths as what that defense does. I know where Tennessee comes from defensively. They're number 1 in defensive efficiency, 3rd in defending shots, 91st in rebounding, and they create turnovers. But you're also going against FAU team. Granted, their schedule is a little bit weaker. 29th in offensive efficiency, 25th in field goal percentage. So they can shoot the ball. They're just going to have to find ways to get inside to score. Kind of similar to what they did it with Memphis a little bit. Plus, I just don't trust Barnes. Barnes is 3-14 against the spread in his last 17 tournament games, and he's coming off a cover versus Duke. And when teams play Duke in the tournament, and you can use the stat as what you want it, there's 8 occurrences when they beat them. They're 2-6 against the spread in the next game. And then also FAU, when they have prep, they have time to prep in 4 to 6 days. They're Dusty May is 26 and 16, 61.9% coverage rate, where Barnes is 44.1 coverage rate in 4 to 6 days rest. So I also look at what these teams did prior to the tournament. You saw Tennessee win their last 2 games, but they were 5-7 straight up in their last 12 games of the season. They lost to Missouri in the SEC tournament. Missouri's defense is egregious at best. So offensively, I don't think I think they're gonna fall flat after coming off that highs of Duke win, and they're gonna face an FAU team that's gonna be ready and prepared for them. And this is, possibly their Super Bowl for maybe they go out in the Elite 8. I'm not saying they're gonna get there. I'm just saying I got 5.5 on this one. I don't think I'm gonna get a better number in my opinion. So I'm gonna be taking FAU plus 5.5. I'll fire a few shots for that one here on the Sports Wagering Network. 29 says are just special right now. Yes, I agree with you, 29. They are damn special. I just don't know if they got enough equipped to get past the Vols. So I'll take them within the 5. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to the next game here. And this is something I'm wearing the damn hat. I also have an opinion on this one. This is Gonzaga versus UCLA. Tough game. Tough matchup. This is probably the marquee game, and they put it at night, 9:45 Eastern Standard Time, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. And I will start this off with Bryan. You got any thoughts on this game? Or are you just going to get your popcorn ready?
Yeah, I'm almost certainly going to pass on this game. It boils down to Gonzaga's number 1 rated offense against UCLA's number 2 rated defense. UCLA and Tennessee have kind of been flip-flopping over the last week or so in the top ranking for defensive efficiency. We have to monitor that UCLA injury situation as well. But these two teams have been in my top 7 all year. I don't really see an edge that I want to play right now. I mean, maybe I have some sort of epiphany in the next 24 hours and the light bulb goes off above my head. I'm saying, oh my goodness, why did I not think of that sooner? But as of right now, I am not playing this game side or total. It's interesting. And I know CT is on the Gonzaga train, so I can just maybe throw this to him. It's really interesting with them because they've let so many people down the last couple of years as a high seed, people picking them to win the national championship. This is the first time I thought of this a couple hours ago, and I don't know if it means anything, but I wanted to throw it to you guys anyway. This is like the first year in what, like 3-4 years that no one's picking Gonzaga to win the national championship. I wonder if that means something, like, not having that pressure on them, because I know it seemed to get to them. When they were number 1 seed. So I don't know. I'm staying away though, as of now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's smart to stay away. If you don't got a side, just move along. And CT, I'll pass it to you. Are you just keeping on the CT Gonzaga train, or you riding with the Bruins?
So I agree with Bryan. There's not. I don't think there's an edge in this game sidewise. I don't. And you guys both know how good this Zaga team has been to me recently, right? I had a large wager on them to win the Mountain West Conference tournament, and then I had an even bigger wager on them to get to the Sweet 16, and both cashed, right? And I think Bryan said it best, right? I think a big factor in this game is going to be the injuries. How healthy is Jalen Clark? I mean, that was a pretty banged up ankle that he had in that Northwestern game. He's not going to be 100%. They're already battling some injuries here. They're great on both sides of the ball. That's the big difference here. Gonzaga is not. We both know that, or all three of us know that. Gonzaga, number 1 offensive team in the country. They don't play great defense. They have played better defense the second half of the year. Then the Grand Canyon game, it kind of went back to they weren't playing very good defense at all. And I was kind of wondering where that all went. Did that just get thrown out of the window? I'm going to tell you this one thing, though. If the Zags can show up defensively in this one, it's going to be really hard for the Bruins to win. Gonzaga is just not a good defensive team, but they have looked better, like I said, and teams tend to play better defense when the games matter more, i.e. this one tomorrow night here. And this is the 3rd meeting between the two in the last 3 years. So Mark Few knows this UCLA team very well. And let's not forget here, big man Drew Timme, he came back for this year for a reason. He was an absolute monster in that win over TCU. He's the best low post player in the nation and reads the floor unbelievably well for a big man. And we all know the Zags have a bunch of reliable 3-point shooters that could fill it up here. I think this is going to come down to the last 5 minutes. And Bryan said it best. There's not an edge in this game. I really don't care what you say. I think this is going to be last 5 minutes. Who shows up here, who wants it more, who grinds it out more, and who makes some shots.
Yeah, maybe I'm taking a little bit of a chance on this one, but when I see the line shift in my direction and you get the line where it is right now and seeing what UCLA has already done so far in this tournament, granted, they haven't played anybody. I've seen what Gonzaga does, and I'm not impressed, and I'm going to be going with UCLA -2 on this play. And listen, Gonzaga coming off a Grand Canyon win by 12, TCU. Probably should have covered that spread versus TCU, but TCU hits a 0.5 second last 3, making them 0-2 against the spread already in this tournament. For UCLA, came in and steamrolled UNC Asheville, and then they go and they kind of play a close one versus a Northwestern team by 5. But this comes down to what the guys have already said so far. Gonzaga's offense versus the UCLA defense. Gonzaga basically wants to run the ball and run up the score. First in offensive efficiency, first in field goal percentage, 93rd in offensive rebounding. Not so great on the free throw line, which is kind of interesting. 244th in that regard. There's really only one good free throw shooter on that team, and then 12th in not giving up the ball. UCLA, great defense. Second in defensive efficiency, 20th in defending shots, 145th in defensive rebounds, and they love to create turnovers, 11th in the country as far as that goes. This is where the mismatch goes, and this is where I drew the line here. Is like UCLA is going to have to score points versus this Gonzaga defense and control the pace. 21st in offensive efficiency, 144th in field goal percentage, 32nd in offensive rebounding, 20th in turnovers. So this team is virtually complete. There's a few better teams in there as far as KenPom's concerned. But when you got Gonzaga's defense at 75th in defensive efficiency and 245th in defending shots, I don't really care what you've done so far in the past. I just care what you're doing right now. And what Gonzaga does on neutral floors against the spread. They're 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 tourney games, 3-12 against the spread in neutral site games, where UCLA is 5-1-1 in their last 7 games overall, 8-3 in their last 11 tournament games. So I'm going to be riding here on the close line. I think UCLA in a double revenge, if you want to call it that. I know they haven't played, the players that are on that team still remember what Gonzaga has done to them in the past. I don't care what Few has done with them. And it says they know UCLA. Eventually, water comes to its level, and I think it comes here with the Bruins. Give me UCLA -2 as my third play. And we're going to skip along for time constraints because nobody cares about San Diego State, Alabama. Thoughts? Nothing? Good? We're moving on. Okay. We're going to go to a game.
It's the lowest total of the year for Alabama. That's all I'll point out. I was struggling on that, but I got really honed in on that there has not been a lower total all year involving the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah. Can San Diego State hold Alabama under 60? Let's see if that happens because they've held the previous 2 under 60, but I don't know. Let's go to this one here, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. This happens on Friday night. Miami versus Houston, T-Mobile Arena, Kansas City, Missouri. Man, T-Mobile is sponsoring a lot of arenas. This game, Houston coming back, getting us to that live ticket. I'm very high on this team. I'll pass it to you, CT. I know you have a thought on this game.
Yeah, this is my best bet of the week, guys. And I just did the hustle show, and I got a little fired up and had a pretty electric breakdown. So I won't try and get as fired up as I did there. But yeah, if you've been following me and watching my shows this year, everybody knows that I've been saying the Cougars are the most complete and efficient team in all the land. And they are top 10 team when it comes to both offense and defense efficiency. And they're the only team in the nation that can say that. They have one of the best backcourts in the country. And all 3 of those guards are absolutely loaded with talent. They play 3 of them, Mark, Sasser, and Shed, not to mention the freshman Walker, who's been an unbelievable surprise for the Cougs, who's probably going to be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. So this is going to be a really intriguing matchup because both of these teams play a very different style of basketball. Houston, very well-oiled machine. They're 9th in the nation in adjusted offensive efficiency and 4th on the defense side of the ball here. And this team is just coached to perfection. Kelvin Sampson, I've always been a huge Sampson guy. He's got a group of players who very rarely make mistakes, and they play very unselfish basketball. On the other side of the ball, right, Miami, they've been great offensively, a little less organized on defense. They're not a very good defensive team, and that's going to be very much a problem for the Canes here. If Miami's going to win this game, they're going to need a huge game from their guards with Wong, Pack, and Miller. And I know that's not totally out of the question, but the Cougs are loaded with great one-on-one defenders. And man, Miami's going to be in for a rude awakening. They're not going to be able to score in the 80s, the 90s like they've been used to. This isn't ACC basketball. This Cougars team can defend, and they are going to be all over you. Look, I know Sasser isn't 100%, but he looked pretty good against Auburn, putting up 22 points, especially in that second half put the Cougs on his back and said, come on, let's go. We're not going out in the second round. We are a championship caliber basketball team. I'm going to leave you guys with this, right? Samson, he can drag a dying horse on his back to water and nurse him back to health. BP, the Cougs will pull away and cover this number. Bet on it. This is Sticky's best bet of the week. This is a 5% play for me, and I absolutely slammed it. Houston Cougars -7. They win by 15, BP. 15.
Well, you don't need to convince me to play against Miami because, I mean, I have been ripping Miami all year. I'm lower on them than just about anybody. At no point this season have I considered Miami a top 25 team in the country, despite them spending the balance of the season ranked. They have been my bogey team. They got me against Drake in the first round. That was kind of like the most disappointing result. Yeah, I mean, me and Guns were both on that one. I agree. Houston's the right side here. Miami, I have them rated as the second worst team in the Sweet 16, and I have Houston rated as the best. So this is probably, in terms of just pure ranking, the biggest mismatch. Although I guess Princeton's obviously dead last according to everybody. The gap between them and everyone else is maybe you'd argue Creighton and Princeton's the biggest mismatch. But it all boils down to what CT said. Miami is outside the top 100 in defensive efficiency. They've been outside the top 100 all year. They allow teams to hit 52% from 2 for the year. So if you think Houston's the right side, I'll throw this one at you guys. Do you think the over is also worth a look? Because Houston, they play slow, but they still put up 81 against Auburn. So imagine what they can do to this Miami defense. I mean, Miami gave up over 100 to Cornell in the regular season. Cornell. So I think Houston could probably name it score here. CT brought up the backcourt. If Miami falls behind, I don't know. Maybe they can just put up some garbage time points to get it there. They, too, are top 11 in offensive efficiency. So I agree Houston's the right side. I was also looking at the over here. I'm going to either take Houston or the over on this game. I haven't made up my mind yet.
All right. Kay Slater needs energy, so I'm going to give him the damn energy. I'm going to fire some shots here across the bow because Houston is my best bet too, and I like him at -7. I love this team. I don't like it. I love it. Let me tell you why. Listen, I know where Miami's coming from. Miami should have lost to Drake. Believe me. I saw what Drake was doing to them, and then all of a sudden Drake couldn't handle a press, and they lost the game. Then they had a win over Indiana. Who cares? Indiana stinks. And now you have Houston off a win versus Northern Kentucky. Here's the key point. They only won by 11. No Sasser. All right. Then they go and they were down 10 points in the first half versus Auburn. Sasser was just coming back versus, after a layoff. Okay. He was a little bit rusty. Relax. What does he do? He lays up like a bastard and puts up 22 points versus them. And not only did they beat that 10 points, that 5-point spread, they won by 15. They put up 25 extra points versus Auburn in the second half. All right. Now you got to look at Miami's offense. I know what they do. They lean on their crutch as far as their offense is concerned. 11th in offensive efficiency, 23rd in field goal percentage, 60th in rebounding, 18th on the free throw line, 58th in turnovers. But they're facing a suffocating Houston defense here, 4th in defensive efficiency, 2nd in defending shots, and they're 30th in creating turnovers. And now you got to back up a Houston offense that's 9th in offensive efficiency, 4th in offensive rebounding, and 31st in giving up turnovers against a Miami defense that's 108th in defensive efficiency, 207th in defending shots, and 170th in creating turnovers. This team is egregious. They don't belong here. They should have lost in the early rounds. Guess what's going to happen? Absolute Cougar steamroll across the board, banging shots across now. Give me the Cougars, baby. They ain't winning by 7. They're winning by double digits. Easy money. Cash your ticket, and then your bookie will kick you out of the sports book for being too loud and losing your voice. That's how you do it, baby. That's how it's going. Houston, -7.
I'll tell you what, I think I'm putting some money down on Houston now, man. You guys convinced me. On that video we showed at the top, I was like, oh, don't record that. So I'd like you to just take out my initial spiel on the over. I think I'm trailing you guys on Houston, man. Yeah, you guys make good points.
All right, we have 2 games left on the board. I think we can hit these pretty quick. I know you have a take on Princeton, Creighton. Anybody thoughts? All right,
I might get to the window on this one. I haven't decided here yet. But I think right this game here at the end of the day, I hadn't played this, and then I started thinking about it more and more today. Right at the end of the day, Creighton is close to elite on both ends of the floor, right? And they're strong at every position on their starting 5. And I get it. I know they really only play 6 guys, sometimes 7. But I think they're really going to be too overwhelming and powerful for this Tigers team. I really do. Not to mention that Ryan Kalkbrenner, the 7'1", the big man here, he's going to be a problem for the Tigers, and I don't think they're going to have an answer for him. The tallest starter for Princeton is 6'9", and Kalkbrenner really moves around very well. If you watch his feet for a big man as a 7'1", he could really move and maneuver. I don't know how Princeton is going to adapt to that. And man, we saw what this Creighton team just did to the Baylor Bears, who could really fill it up themselves, and they ran them out of the building. Like, I mean, the Jays are hot right now. They're 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. They're shooting the lights out. I think that, unfortunately for Princeton, it's been a great run. I think it's going to come to an end. I haven't got to the window yet, but I have a really, really strong lean here on the Blue Jays, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the podcast with Fade You, and Joey Cheese basically had the same breakdown. He said Kalkbrenner is going to be a problem. It was his best bet, -10.5. I personally think it's Creighton or nothing. Brian, any thoughts on that one?
I mean, look, before the tournament began, I thought Creighton was going to go to the Elite 8. And, you know, if I was willing to take them to beat the likes of Baylor, sorry, CT, and Arizona, you're certainly like them against this Princeton team who, you know, had a little bit of luck in the Ivy League tournament. Arizona goes ice cold down the stretch, forgets how to play basketball. And then Princeton, we need to talk about. They had a tip your cap to get into the Sweet 16 as a 15 seed, but they had a dream round of 32 matchup against Missouri, who absolutely stinks defensively, 170th something in efficiency. So, yeah, I think the dream ends here. Creighton is a very, very good basketball team. And like I said, I had them in the Elite 8 before this thing started, and I certainly think they're going to be in the Elite 8 after beating Princeton.
Yeah. I mean, their numbers are balanced. 13th in defensive efficiency, 23rd in offensive efficiency. I can't agree with you more on that one. It's Creighton or nothing. -10, -10.5. I think there are right now currently on the board. May move up from there. Last game on the board, though, we got Xavier going up against the Longhorns here of Texas. 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, T-Mobile Arena, Kansas City, Missouri. And I know Brian Power has a take on the total.
Yeah, guys, I think Texas's 3-point shooting has to improve from the last game. Now, you hear people say that all the time. Oh, it's got to improve. You know, it doesn't have to improve. Well, when you go 1 of 13 from 3, it pretty much has to improve. I don't think they're going to go worse than 1 of 13 in this game. And where are they playing? Kansas City. What did they just do? Texas. They won the Big 12 tournament in this building. So it's not like it's foreign territory here for them on Friday night. And Xavier, we know they could score. 7th in offensive efficiency, and they play with pace, 33rd, how about, in adjusted tempo. Texas has previously faced, this is a crazy stat, Texas has faced 2 top 50 teams in tempo. Those games saw 219 and 167 total points scored. That 219 was in regulation. Oh, by the way, there was no overtime when they played Kansas State. And the Musketeers defense, guys, is a concern. It gives up 75.7 points per game away from home because all of the unders we've seen, that's been one of the big stories, right? It's what the unders like hit at 2/3 of these games. That and Texas being on a 7-0 under run, I think we're getting a lower number than what we should have. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. This should be the highest scoring game of the Sweet 16. And yes, I like the over in this one.
The last game of the Sweet 16 and points. Brian Power brings to the table. CT, what do you think about this game? Where are we looking?
So a couple of my very sharp friends like Texas in this game, and I at first glance I liked Xavier, and they've kind of talked me off of it. But now Bryan and Guns, you probably know this. Like, I trust my opinion, my first glance, not to try and sound like an asshole more than, anybody else talking, to me about a game. But I stepped back, I looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure where to go here, but I think this game, plain and simple, it comes down to the big man matchup with Dylan Dessou, who I think, in my opinion, is the best player on the court. Between him and Jack Nungy. And Dessou, he's been fabulous, and he's really stood out to me since Trig and I went to the Baylor Texas game, the second game in Waco. I know Baylor blew him out, but it would have been a lot worse if Dessou wasn't on the floor. It was one of those games where the Texas guards shockingly weren't hitting their shots, and he picked up the slack there. And he did that again in the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament versus TCU. Marcus Carr, Serge Jabari Rice, and Hunter were struggling shooting the ball, and the Sioux is there to pick them up. And I think this comes back to what Bryan said. I do think those guards are elite, right? And I do think they're going to shoot the ball better and off from getting to the window on Xavier here. Look at it this way. Bryan, not sure if you know this, they only scored those three combined 20 points versus Penn State. They were 11 of 27 shooting, the three of them. And those are three of the best shooters in the country. That's not going to cut it. And I think they will be a lot better. So I didn't get to the window on this one, guys. Don't really have a lean. I think whoever wins that matchup and the big man there between Stu and not Fremantle, Nungy is going to win this game. I think this might be the game where Xavier is really, really missing Fremantle.
Yeah. I think the matchup comes down to Xavier wants to score points. They're 7th in offensive efficiency, 12th in field goal percentage, but they're playing a defense that plays defense well, on the ball, off the ball, inside, 10th in defensive efficiency, and 57th in defending shots. It comes down to that. It's a little bit of a break there as far as the Xavier defensive side, 64th in defensive efficiency versus the 15th ranked offensive efficient offense in Texas. But I couldn't get to the window on this one either. It was just one of those paths. Those last two games on the Friday, I just had no interest in. Other than I had a lean on Creighton. That was pretty much where I was going with this. But that Xavier Texas game, that could go any which way. It is just something I don't want to be stuck with the wrong ticket on it. Sweating that bet. I'd rather
I'll probably hop on the over with BP, to be honest with you. I more I look at it, I'm starting to like that too. So
yeah, I mean Xavier wants pace. They want it. If they're going to stay in this game, they're going to have to score points.
Yep.
I think if you think this is going to be a close game, you might as well go with the over. And what a great point with the Texas that I never even thought about. 7 straight unders, you were saying. And and the number's 149. It was like 149, 150, I think it was when I looked. So seems a little bit high for a Texas game. But those are the games, those are the matchups. Want to make sure I get the best bets out there before we get plugs for our guests. I want to thank Bryan Power. I want to thank CT for joining us here on DadBodds. Hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you had some laughs, and hopefully you got some good, sharp information. But best bet, I'll pass it to Bryan Power. What are you thinking?
Best bet for the show. It was the first game we talked about. It was Michigan State on the money line. I like that a lot. I think they, like I said, they should be ecstatic that they were able to beat Marquette playing the way they did, at least offensively. And of course, this was great. Thanks for having me on. You can check me out. I'm usually on Wager Talk TV in one form or another every day. Not this week because the stoppage time show is due to the international break in soccer. We're on break, but usually I'm on there in one form or another. Friday I'll be on at around noon Eastern. And of course, you can check me out on my page, wagertalk.com.
Beautiful. CT, best. I think we know what your best bet is, but yeah, make sure you plug that watch party that you guys are doing on Friday.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Guns. It was a pleasure doing this with you guys. Head down on Friday if you're in the New Jersey, New York area to Texas, Arizona, and Hoboken. We're going to be there from 5 o'clock all the way through, and you'll be able to grind out my best bet with me, and that's Houston. Sasser is the best guard left in the country. And look what they did to that Auburn defense in the second half, which is a very good defense. Imagine what they're going to do to that Miami defense. They're going to absolutely shred it. Best bet, Houston -7, boys.
Yeah, I'm on the same thing. I like Houston -7. I mean, if this was going to be a Miami line, in my opinion, that thing would have dropped to 3.5. It's not, and the line is telling a story here. And plus, when you have what Sasser did in the second half, basically tells everybody Sasser's back, he's ready, and the groin injury is fine. When that team is complete, I don't think anybody's going to be stopping Houston except for a few select teams, maybe one in the Final Four, and it rhymes with, I don't know, Muskie, but like what maybe I'm thinking that team could match up with them well, but we will see as we enjoy the tournament. For the SWA network, we're going to be doing another show when the Elite Eight comes out. That's probably either Friday night or Saturday morning. So please join that. It's going to be me and the Dab Breaking Ankles show, and we'll break down the Elite Eight for you guys. And of course, always hit the notification button, hit the like button, and make sure you support this damn channel with all the content that's going to be coming out of this channel all of 2023. So thank my guests, Bryan Powers, Chris Thurston. Go check them out on Twitter. Their Twitter handles are in the write-up. Thanks for joining us. That's going to do it for DadBodds episode number 115 till number 116 comes next week. We say good luck with your tickets. Let's cash some bets. And as always, let's keep dancing. Close them out, hon.